For years, Dan Gregory served in law enforcement and government, and now he wants to lead the Charleston County Register of Deeds office. In this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I speak exclusively with Dan one-on-one. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. Dan Gregory, it's so good to meet you.
Hey, thank you very much.
I appreciate it. So here we sit. You are running for Charleston County Register of Deeds.
Correct.
And I know that you were raised in a military family. You grew up in Columbia. You actually worked for the South Carolina State House on both Senate and House sides.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me why Dan Gregory, why Charleston County Register of Deeds?
I had run previously for Register of Deeds in my home county of Lexington County. And it's something of a fit for me. Really, if down to the basic elementary of this job, you are basically a government administrator as a Register of Deeds running a government office. That fits me because I've had 15 years of that in local government already, working within departments, how you have to work with them, gain relationships with them, and also managing county employees. I have a lot of experience in that. So it's it's more of a fit than anything that I've found in county government, and that's what really attracts me to that particular position.
And let me get to the issues. There's a plethora of them on your website. But I want to go to the top because obviously the legislative session just ended.
Correct.
And I know that you are laser focused on legislation that is affecting the Register of Deeds office.
Correct.
Tell me how.
The reason being is a lot of things that you may need to change, which in the position I'm in now in government, with Charleston County government, we were to affect some changes in some laws that needed to be done. You can, as at the local level, want to do something, but of course you can't break the law, so you need it changed at the state legislature. So you need someone well versed in that, and having worked in the state legislature for many, many years, I have helped legislators write legislation and all. I'm kind of used to that area of the hallways, shall we say, that I can come up with things, work on it, push it through. There's some things that need to be done for Register of Deeds offices. One was they were working on, but it didn't make it through. I think there was some amendments to the legislation as far as setting standard fees for filing, which would help those that file know exactly what they owe.
Right. Absolutely. And obviously a big topic on the campaign trail right now is about electronic recording of documents.
Correct.
Where are you with that particular discussion?
Having spoken with a lot of the staff of the office, there's the main books in there. There's about 1.5 years left of scanning those documents if you really got onto it.
Right.
It needs to be focused a lot more. I got my start in government when I became an intern, worked myself through USC.
Right.
And I think it's very valuable for young people to get their foot in the door who are interested in government. It's also a less costly way if there's some things that need to be scanned and all that with proper management, that these things can be done at a low cost, utilizing interns within the office and all with good management watching over that. So I think it's a way that we can get things done. It also gives opportunity to the young people, just as I had. That's how I got my start.
And you also talk about office equipment. That's never where you want to save money.
Well, in that, speaking of office equipment, that's something we're going to have to look at because and unbeknownst to a lot of folks, with Charleston County, you have to turn in your budget by January 23rd.
Right.
Means to say the person coming in office on the 1st of January, you're going to have to really boogie and work with those. With Matt Guile, he's the budget director.
Right.
And I have all those relationships already when I have to do my own budget for my office that I manage. And so I'm looking at equipment. We'd have to see what's needed there, talk with folks, and I mentioned about having a committee of people who are customers of that office that I can hit things off of. What do you see? What's going on? So I would be asking around, listening to folks, listening to staff. What do we need? Because you have to put that in your budget, and that starts July of that year, and you have to live with that until end of June.
Right.
So there's a lot of things you would really have to hit the ground running and know all the folks you have to talk to in order to get these things done. Also, speaking of money in the office, I would like to look at maybe charging less for copies in the office. Is there something else that we can save money on to help offset that? If we did lower it for our customers, I mean, that would make me very happy if we could make it to where the customers had to pay less for our services. So.
And what else are you listening to when you talk to the constituents and when you talk to the staff members of the Charleston
Correct.
County Register of Deeds?
You know, they're very proud people, and it's great. There's some great people there. Charlie set up a great office, and it's time to build upon that, and with fresh ideas and all that, to move along. And really, you know, there's a lot there. I come from a background of, you know, almost 30 years of working for people who were elected officials or appointed officials. That's my background. So I've been in their shoes. I know what they feel, what matters to them. So it's really the relationship's already there, basically.
And obviously another big talk right now is obviously about the location of the Register of Deeds
Correct.
office.
Correct. It's a beautiful building and all. A lot of folks are moving out. The assessor's office is
Right.
moved to Favorite Place.
Right.
They love it. The problem being is it's what abstractors and paralegals have to do. This takes hours in an office if you have to go there. Okay, because we're going to try to make it where you don't always have to go. Get these documents online. Okay, where you can do it in your office. That won't always work, but you know, we can lessen that. That's great. That's another thing I want to do. But when you're in there, we're talking hours. So they either have to park at Cumberland Garage a few blocks away. It's raining. It's whatever's going on. You know, it doesn't rain in Charleston, does it? But they've also had to shut the whole building down because of flooding.
Right.
Is down there too. It costs a lot of money to park. Anybody who's ever gone downtown, it's not going to get any better. So I have heard from some staff they like that idea. I think there's some other county, they're going to be moving some offices around. I'm currently in the county building off Leeds.
Right.
They're going to be probably eventually move the assessor's office in there. You know, they're talking about building some buildings along Azalea and stuff. There might be an area to where now these folks, our customers, can park right near where they need to go. Will not cost them any money. Because if you're sitting in the building where it's at now, and you're spending hours researching these properties, you don't want to have to keep looking at your watch because you had to park in a meter because you couldn't find anything in the garages. And of course, that meter runs out, that's a $14 ticket now. So I mean, it'll help them out as well. That's the main thing I'm looking at. But that being said is, I want to listen to the folks. Is that the right thing to do? Okay, so I would entertain moving the office. I would want to listen to everybody. I just don't want to move it just to move it, okay, for the office and everything.
And you talk about the office, let me stay there because obviously you were talking about finished scanning documents and plats in the ROD sales office.
Correct. And that's something that, again, back to the point of trying to make it as easy as possible for folks to off-site do what they need to do. There's also a lot of things people don't think about. If you've got original documents in somewhere and you've got folks just constantly going through there and dog-earing the corners and all that, I mean, these things cannot be, you know, these things are hundreds of years old. You cannot remake these things. So it's order for protection for the documents too. So we're trying to move this office into the 21st century more so and build on what Charlie Lyburn has done in the past.
Talk to me about this, sovereign citizens.
Sovereign citizens, yes. They raise their head a little bit more as the economy starts to tank a little bit. These folks believe that they don't have to follow our laws at all. They make their own laws. They believe that they are a straw man, that they are, you know, their name and everything is protected. They don't have to listen to our laws. They'll make their own driver's license, their own license plates for their cars. Law enforcement knows a lot about them. The worst case scenario is these folks have killed government officials in the exercise of their duties, so they can be very deadly. The point being, in the Register of Deeds office, I've had to deal with them before in my office. They'll file crazy documents, thick as anything, and they'll try to do it in the Register of Deeds office. They'll even file liens against government officials. That can mess your credit up real fast. You have to really kind of watch what's going on. Staff need to be trained what they're looking for. And I would also bear in mind that there should be some legislation that protects the Register of Deeds and their employees, that they can disavow any filing of things that are not correct that would cause a problem. A lot of things you're faced with now, you have to file things. You really are not supposed to go through it except for the legal things that you got to check for. But the basics of what's in there, you're not to do that. But I would want to change that for the very instance of these sovereign citizens.
So let me ask you the one question. What will you do on day one?
On day one, well, obviously, I talked about we got to get the budget going.
Right.
I would meet with all staff, get that worked on, see what we need. I would talk with the folks. Like I said, I would have a group of folks of what we'll call the customers of the office, and get some feedback from that. They're not to run the office, they're just to help me to make sure I'm not out in left field doing something that's really not going to help. I never want to do that. It should always be about the office, not about me. So I'm basically just a steward of the public's office that happens to file deeds and anything else you can think of in that office. So
And you talk about office now. You are working for the Charleston County Assessor's Office right now.
I'm working for the revenue collections.
Collections.
Yeah.
Isn't that a conflict of interest if you're running for this office now?
What do you mean?
You're running for Charleston County Register of Deeds, but you're working for revenues now?
Revenue collections
Collections.
on that. No,
Okay.
it's perfectly legal and everything. I had to check on that.
Okay.
In the legal department with the county.
Okay.
Basically, you don't want to violate the Hatch Act
Sure.
and those kind of things.
Sure.
Those things were checked before I
Okay.
ever paid my money
Okay.
to get on the line. So no, there's no conflict of interest at all with that.
And when you take off your political hat, who else is Dan Gregory?
Just somebody, I love to help people. I know in one of my flyers, very close to my heart is pet adoption.
Right.
I have two of my own little, what I call fur babies, but I give money to that locally, and that's close to my heart. I love old muscle cars.
I saw that.
Yeah, and that's kind of something I like to do. But basically, I'm a person who likes to have fun, get things done. I like to tinker with things.
That is so good to hear. Now, obviously, we have 16 days, 14 hours, 5 minutes, and 4 seconds before the polls
I
open.
think you got that off somebody's website.
Your website. DanGregory.rod.com.
There you go.
But what's that one word to describe your campaign right now?
I'm having fun, and we're having fun. The folks that are helping me. I'm so thankful for the folks that are helping me. I love meeting people, getting out there and meeting folks. They're telling me things, and I'm taking it all in. Meeting other folks that are running for office, and we're kind of comparing notes out there. The days of putting signs up, and I've had a lot of people say, "I've seen your signs," So, that makes me feel good that they're at least seeing, the name out there. That doesn't win you elections, but it lets people know you're out there. And so, it's just a lot of fun. I enjoy it. And it's a public service. I did that when I was Reserve Deputy Sheriff for 14 years. So, I enjoy serving the public.
That is so good to hear. Well, Dan Gregory, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.